Hello and welcome to Nintendo Nightly, your Monday through Friday source for everything Nintendo. My name is Michael Cottrell, your host, and today on the show I just want to dissect the Nintendo Direct that happened yesterday. After all the craziness and the hype surrounding the pictures that Nintendo was putting up, the tweet thread that was started by all those companies, I think people were left a little disappointed, and it's all just been incredibly funny to watch, honestly, because I wasn't expecting much at all. I was, as some people are, oh man, I was expecting Metroid Prime 5. It's like, man, we haven't seen the fourth one yet. And they're not going to show a game like that or a game like the new Pokemon at a January event. I don't think. I think they're going to save that for E3 when everybody's talking about video games. There is a little bit of a war that goes on for like who's bringing the hotness this year. That's where we saw so much of Odyssey. That's where we saw so much of Breath of the Wild the year before. So I think those sort of games are going to be held for that time. That being said, just want to take a look at the Direct. I'm not going to spend too much time recapping what was talked about there. It was only a 15-minute video, so if you're interested in what exactly was announced and you haven't watched the Direct, go ahead and watch that first. Also, just a quick note, for those of you that are watching the video version of this show, there's not going to be much or any video that we show today, just because this is some hot and heavy content ID stuff. I'm going to get in some sort of trouble from Nintendo if I show more than 6 seconds in a row from their Direct. So that being said, I may be able to patch in some video footage later or some video footage from the previous versions of these games, but not going to be showing a whole lot of Direct footage here. That being said, however, let's jump into the Nintendo Direct and see what was announced and just I'm going to give you a little reaction to it. Honestly, I might cover some of the finer points in videos themselves that I find a little more interesting or that there's more of a conversation that could be had about them. But for now, let's just talk about the initial reaction. So we started with a remake to a 10-year-old DS game, and this is coming back with some refreshed graphics. It's got a new story that is coming alongside of it. I think this is all good. This is a cool game that's third party and bringing some diversity to the Switch. This sort of game, it really is unique in itself, but just to have more RPG sort of games on the platform is nice. Next, we move to Pokken Tournament DX, where they're adding Aegislash, who is a literal sword and shield from, I think, the X and Y series. This is when I feel like Pokemon kind of lost their edge with the designs of the new Pokemon. I mean, honestly, it's a sword. Why is it here? I know this might be just kind of a taste thing and that other people probably like this Pokemon a lot, but I think it's a weird addition, especially since there is already a bunch of ghost types. I think this brings the total to 4 with Darkrai, the Chandelier, I don't even know his name, and Gengar. It's just kind of weird, and especially considering we already have another inanimate object ghost Pokemon. So that's my opinion on that. As far as Blastoise goes, I'm so down for that. I think time and time again we see the most popular Pokemon are the first generation, and he is one of the Pokemon that started it all. For many of us, it was the first Pokemon we were ever exposed to, being the Pokemon that's on the cover of Red and Blue. So yeah, just great addition there. Mimikyu comes as a support Pokemon. I wish he was a playable character. He'd be a much more interesting ghost to add, though I imagine you might be scared that there's too many Pikachus running around in that game. So yeah, this battle pack costs $15, so you're basically getting 2 characters for $15. Way overpriced. Honestly, this amount of characters in the roster should have been in the game to begin with, even in the Wii U version. It's a total ripoff. I don't know if I will buy it. I don't know if Blastoise is worth $7 to me, but we'll see. I've been looking for a reason to jump back into that game, and the new characters might just be that. Next, we move on to the Kirby Switch game, which is looking pretty good. I mean, honestly, I'm kind of impressed by the environmental graphics and some of the effects that happen as Kirby shoots out spider webs or different things like that. The abilities look cool. I like that it's 4-player co-op, getting some classic Kirby gameplay here, and I don't think we've gotten to play as some of Kirby's buddies since Kirby Superstar back on the Super Nintendo. So I'm excited for this game. I'm going to pick it up, enjoy playing it with my brother and some of my friends, and Yeah, it should be a fun time. I mean, I'm not expecting a difficult game. I'm not expecting a super creative game. Just some comfort food, some good 2D platforming action for you. Uh, it's available March 16th, which is surprising to me. I didn't think they would be able to shoot this one out that fast. Which I don't. Either it's been under wraps for a long time, or they have a pretty short game on our hands. So we'll see what there is to see there. They're plugging the demo for that Kirby Battle Royale game in there, which I think is funny. That's the only thing we've got as far as 3DS goes. They don't even go into detail as far as what that game, what there is to be excited about. The 3DS game. We just have that that little title there. Just like, hey, there's a 3DS game there. We supported 3DS in 2018, so I'm calling it 2018 3DS dead. But we'll see. I've been wrong before about this very thing. We then got a notification that Dragon Quest Builders is available on the Switch as a demo today. That is a port from an earlier PS4 game. Awesome that we're getting that, but it is an older PS4 and actually PS Vita game. Speaking of ports, we got Hyrule Warriors being ported. I think Hyrule Warriors, honestly, and I'll probably get a lot of hate for this, but bring it on, suckers. I didn't have much fun playing this game. And really, like the Dynasty Warriors games in a nutshell, like I don't know if it's my fault or if it's just not my type of game, but it just seems mindless. You just mash the Y button. It doesn't really matter like what enemies are killing, how far. You go to the bases, you take the bases, and eventually you win the battle. It just, I don't know. All the environments. I remember there being like 1 or 2 levels with actual like slopes and elevation, and the rest of them were just like flat plains that are colored differently to look like different Zelda locales, and yeah, just didn't really have a great time with it. That being said, maybe I'll give it a second shot on the Switch because it has looped in this time all the 3DS characters that were exclusive to that version of the game that ran like garbage on anything other than a new 3DS. So I don't know. I think that game it just is being held up by the Zelda name, and without it, it's a pretty rough experience. But if you're looking for some hack and slash Zelda action, that's something for you. Next up, we've got Mario Tennis Aces, which is a new Mario Tennis game. Looks pretty cool. I think it's kind of going in the same vein of Mario Power Tennis with the crazy different arenas, and it's been a while since we've gotten a console Mario Tennis game. I think since the GameCube, there was a port done on the Wii, so nice to have that. I think they're trying to insert that in the spring to be a replacement for Mario Kart 8. It's not going to sell anywhere near as well, but hey, it's going to be a cool little Mario Tennis game. And there's been some theorizing going on around Reddit and some online forums that they're in different outfits so they can sell amiibos. If that's the case, if Bowser's in some kind of jumpsuit, I gotta have it. Please put Bowser in just this tracksuit. I think that'd be hilarious. Next up, we've got Ys that's coming, yet another port from earlier titles. Don't have much to say about it because I've never really played it. This is the first footage I'm seeing of it, honestly. Looks like it's very much in the vein of Monster Hunter, meant to be a challenger to that. So the audience that will like that game will like that game. I think the base building stuff looks cool. It looks looks like the combat is interesting. The monsters are interesting. World's interesting. Probably won't pick it up. It's not my cup of tea. However, looks like it could be a little grindy, as those games tend to be. So next up, we got some DLC for Super Mario Odyssey. They're adding a new mode in, brought by Luigi, called Balloon World. Luigi, this is upsetting to some people because you can't be Luigi inside of Odyssey, and I just think it's funny how dainty he looks floating on his little pack of balloons. But honestly, it's a cool little upgrade. It's not anything that I think will revitalize the game in any sense, but it'll add a fun night or two for most people, and for some people they'll have a lot of fun seeing that bit of interactivity in those worlds. I think that this is the right sort of thinking, that repopulating these worlds with some sort of new challenge is the right way to go. And I wonder if we'll get any other updates for Odyssey to see some of this stuff. I think honestly, one of the biggest things that they could do for some of these games is to, let's say they're going to launch a new IP, Retro's working on some game about bats, and there would be this sort of bat world inside of Mario Odyssey. You collect, 15 moons in it. They make a little playground area. That'd be the best way to advertise a new IP. You could have that idea for free, Nintendo, even though you try to steal all the money that I don't make on this channel. But, that one's for you guys. Next up, we got SNK Heroes, which is one of our very few new games that are coming inside of this announcement, which is most people's criticism with it. But this is a multi-platform game that is also coming to Switch at the same time as the other consoles. Fancy that. So this is a fighting game on the SNK engines with some of their famous girl characters. I don't know much about SNK, to be honest, so I can't give much more commentary than this. But to say that there is a rising bit of third-party confidence inside of the Nintendo Switch, and that's a good thing. So, moving on, we've got Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle getting a new playable character. As soon as I saw those trees, I was like, it's hype. Donkey Kong's in the house. Would have been cool to get Diddy too, but I'll take Donkey Kong. And I only put about 2 or 3 hours into Kingdom Battle. I liked it, but just there's so many games coming out around that time, so I just haven't gotten back to it. And hopefully you can play DK in the main story. If you can, I'd love to give it another shot. But this is a cool update. I mean, as far as like characters they could add to that universe, I think, unless you're going to do Bowser, DK is probably the next best thing to do. Okay, in addition to that, we've got Payday with an exclusive character with a mask. So that's something that they're trying to advertise with, which I think is just kind of funny. It's not even Nintendo themed or exclusive, really. It's just a timed exclusive, meaning that it will make its way to other platforms eventually. So it's another port. It's a beloved game, and people having the ability to play it on a portable will be great. That's the story with a lot of these. Next up, we got a couple of smaller titles. We've got Faye from Zoink Games. It's a EA Originals project where they invest money in some smaller things, some more creative endeavors than reskinning the 6 games that they make every year. So it looks interesting. It looks like kind of like Journey or Spore or somewhere in between, more of a game that's about relaxing and solving puzzles than it is about combat or crazy things like that. I think it looks cool, and honestly, may check it out depending on how expensive it is, and I'll let you know what I think of it. Celeste is up next. This game looks pretty awesome. It is a 2D platformer with some climbing mechanics, some stamina mechanics, and just some interesting abilities that our character has to pull off all these crazy stunts. The coolest part of the game, honestly, is that it has this assist mode, and with the assist mode, you can customize like how fast she falls, how much energy she has, all of these different things. And this is something that I talk about pretty frequently, and you're going to just hear me say it like a broken record. Customizable and variable difficulty is fantastic. You should always try and put that in your games because it makes your games more accessible. I love a good challenging game. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is one of my favorite platformers. I love the thought of the challenge of Cuphead. I can't wait to play it. But for those of us who don't play games as often, don't have as much time, or they just, some people play games to unwind and relax, and they'd like to play platformers a bit more akin to Yoshi's Woolly World than Cuphead, and those people should have a chance to enjoy your game. And it doesn't take anything away from beating it on the challenging mode. It just makes it more accessible, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I love that feature. I think the game looks awesome, and I'm going to be picking it up on January 25th. Next up, this announcement was just for me. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, arguably the most overlooked game on the Wii U, is coming to the Switch. And speaking of variable difficulty, we've got a new character added to the roster, Funky Kong. Now, a frequent criticism that people have of this game that I think is just to a certain extent is that the game is too hard. It's too hard for certain people, and I can totally see that. Funky Kong kind of functions as an easy mode, and as I imagine he's going to be really useful in any sort of time trial runs if they let you choose your character for them. So he is a character that has, instead of the 2 hearts from the normal Tropical Freeze, he has 5. He can do 2 jumps and hover, and he can land on spikes. So this is a character that is going to be just a great addition to this game to really bring in what I was talking about earlier, a variable difficulty. If someone like, my wife who never plays video games wants to try something, this is a way for her to get into it a little bit more. And for those who couldn't finish it, maybe they can lean on Funky Kong as a character to do that with. And it looks like they made the game easier in general. I saw in 2-player Diddy Kong had 3 hearts, so maybe they did that. I remember them doing that for the 3DS re-release of Country Returns. I don't know how I feel about that. I would like the option to kind of customize how difficult I want it to be, because once you get pretty good at the game, the lack of hearts doesn't really matter. And I think it's awesome that this game is coming to Switch. I think this is one of the most important games to come to Switch, because while Mario Kart was very widely played on the Wii U, and pretty much everybody who had a Wii U had a chance to play that. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze released in a weird time in one of the Wii U's lowest points in like the month of February, and so nobody really played this. And I think in a certain sense too, it was unfairly battered by critics for not feeling like Mario when it's something entirely new and different. Mark Brown from Game Maker's Toolkit has a fantastic video on just explaining why this game is so great, and you really can't explain that without dedicating a lot of time and visuals too. So I'll probably have some footage playing in the background from this game, but go and watch his video and check out just how they do level design. It's really impressive. And for the final announcement, the mystery announcement, we've got Dark Souls Remastered coming to the Switch as well as other systems. It's interesting that they put this last, and it was sort of the mystery thing. A lot of people are celebrating it just like they celebrated Skyrim coming there. It's really just that, hey, mature games can come to Nintendo again. Games with graphical fidelity can come to Nintendo again. And so I think that's a win. Now, to get onto like overall thoughts of this Direct, we had, in terms of ports, we had 1 port in Pokken Tournament, 2 ports for Dragon Quest Builders, 3 ports for Hyrule Warriors, 4 ports for Payday 2, and then 5 ports for Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. So out of the, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 games, a third of them were ports. And actually, 6 of that 15, because The World Ends With You is also, that's more of a remake than a port, but you kind of get the idea that not much is being, there aren't many new things that are being sold here. Among those that are new, we've got the Kirby game, the Mario Tennis game, and that's it from the first party studios. And then we've got the SNK Heroines and like Faye and Celeste. So I can understand why some people are upset, especially with all the hype that was being stirred about this. Like, some people were expecting some sort of word about a Smash Brothers port with some extra content and characters, but this is what we get. It's what I'll say is the strangest thing is that Nintendo was drumming up all this hype, and then when it came time to deliver on it, they just like uploaded it onto their channel, didn't tell anybody about it, and was like, here's a Direct Mini. Just like, what were you trying to hype things up for? It was so weird. It just seemed like bad messaging to me. But I think we got some cool stuff that's coming to the Switch. A lot of it has already come to the Wii U, but I think in terms of like Tropical Freeze, Hyrule Warriors, and even to a certain extent Pokken Tournament, there's enough new stuff there that will get people to double dip. I think that's all good, honestly. There's so many people who didn't get to experience this stuff on the Wii U, and for other people, they're going to get to experience it with a much wider audience. So a game that is an online fighting game like Pokken Tournament, you'll get to play that with more people than you did before. I would also say with the third-party stuff, this was the same thing with the Wii U, except it didn't end up in original titles getting put onto the system. When the Wii U first came out, everybody was going to see if this was going to be a successful platform. So we got ports of like Mass Effect 3, Batman Arkham Asylum, games like that had come out a year or so ago to the Wii U's launch, and developers put those games on those systems just to test the waters. And so this is that phase. If some of these games interest you, pick them up. And I hope that they do well, because if they don't, then we're going to see the same sort of flocking away from third parties that we saw previously. And not to say that the responsibility is on us, the consumers, to prove to these companies that we'll buy their games, but it's just the harsh reality of game development that it is a very risky endeavor. And so we'll see what happens. I think with the Switch's success and how it's already outsold the Wii U in Japan, I think that it'll be just fine, that we're going to continue to get third-party games in. It's been a long time, I think, since the GameCube that we've gotten, pound-for-pound versions of games that are coming out at the same time, even if they are titles like Dark Souls Remastered and Payday 2. I mean, they're not like these. Sure, the frame rate might be a little bit less, the resolution might be a little bit less, but you're getting the same game, not some weird reskin of it. I mean, if you want to see the Dark Ages, go Google a video of Call of Duty running on the Wii. It was pretty bad. Now, I don't know if we're going to get to that point where we're going to start to see those titles, but allegedly it's easier to port to the Switch than it was to port to the Wii and to the Wii U. So hopefully we'll start to see that stuff. A wider games library is good for everybody. So those are my initial thoughts on the Nintendo Direct. I'd love to know what you think. You can write into the comments on Facebook and YouTube, and if you're listening to the audio versions, you can write into us at thebentoblock.com/Nintendo Nightly. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. It's been kind of hard to make this week while I've been a little under the weather. You might hear some coughing and some sniffles, but it's been a fun journey. So thank you so much for stopping by, and I'd love to hear from you. Have a great day. I'll see you next time for some more Nintendo Nightly.